Donald Trump's interest in Greenland has been a topic of discussion since he first suggested the idea of purchasing the territory in 2019. His renewed focus on Greenland in December 2024 underscores his persistent belief in the strategic importance of the island for U.S. national security and global influence. Background of Trump's interest. In 2019, during his presidency, Trump made headlines when he proposed buying Greenland from Denmark. This proposal was met with a swift and firm rejection from the Danish government, and Greenland's leadership also stated that the island was not for sale. Despite the controversy, Trump's interest highlighted his broader foreign policy approach, which often emphasized national security and economic interests. Recent developments. On December 26, 2024, just weeks before Trump was set to take office again, he reiterated his stance on Greenland. In a post on Truth Social, he declared that the ownership and control of Greenland is an absolute necessity for the United States, citing national security and the need for freedom worldwide as key reasons. This statement came during the announcement of his new ambassador to Denmark, Kenneth Haury, which seemed to signal a renewed focus on U.S.-Danish relations. Greenland's Prime Minister Múte Egede responded promptly to Trump's comments, asserting that Greenland is not for sale and will never be for sale. He emphasized that the future of Greenland should be determined by its own inhabitants, reinforcing the island's autonomy and self-determination. Denmark's reaction. In light of Trump's statements, the Danish government announced that it would increase its defense spending in Greenland, amounting to approximately 1.3 billion euros. Danish officials indicated that this decision was not a direct response to Trump's remarks, but rather a reflection of Denmark's ongoing commitment to its territories and their security. Strategic importance of Greenland. Trump's focus on Greenland is tied to several strategic considerations. The island is rich in natural resources, including rare earth minerals, and it holds significant geopolitical value due to its location in the Arctic. As global powers, particularly Russia and China, seek to expand their influence in the Arctic region, control over Greenland could provide the U.S. with a strategic advantage. The U.S. operates the Thule Air Base in Greenland, which plays a crucial role in monitoring military activities in the Arctic and beyond. Trump's assertions about the necessity of controlling Greenland can be seen as part of a broader vision to strengthen U.S. presence and influence in critical regions. Criticism and concerns. Trump's proposals have drawn criticism both domestically and internationally. Critics argue that his approach reflects a colonial mindset and raises ethical concerns regarding the rights of the Greenlandic people. The European Union, while not directly commenting on Trump's statements, has also shown a cautious approach to the situation, highlighting the need for diplomacy and respect for the autonomy of territories. Conclusion. Donald Trump's interest in Greenland underscores his administration's focus on national security and strategic resources. His recent statements reiterating the desire for U.S. control over the territory reflect a broader trend of aggressive foreign policy aimed at asserting U.S. dominance in global affairs. However, the strong opposition from Greenland's leadership in Denmark indicates a firm commitment to autonomy and self-determination, suggesting that any attempts to alter the status of Greenland will face significant resistance. The ongoing dialogue surrounding Greenland will likely continue to evolve as global geopolitical dynamics shift in the coming years. Donald Trump's interest in Greenland is a complex issue that combines aspects of national security, geopolitical strategy, and economic considerations. His desire to acquire Greenland, which was notably expressed in 2019 and reiterated in December 2024, raises several counterintuitive points that challenge conventional perceptions of international relations, territorial ownership, and the role of resources in global power dynamics. 1. Misconception of ownership and control. One of the most counterintuitive aspects of Trump's statements is the notion that the United States could own or control Greenland. The island is an autonomous territory of Denmark, and both Greenland's leadership and the Danish government have firmly stated that Greenland is not for sale. This raises questions about the legitimacy of Trump's claims and intentions. His perspective reflects a broader trend in which powerful nations assert dominance over territories based on perceived strategic needs, often ignoring the autonomy and rights of the local populations. 2. Linking resources to national security. Trump's assertions about Greenland being vital for U.S. national security are tied to the island's rich natural resources, including rare earth minerals, which are crucial for technology manufacturing and military applications. This connection highlights a counterintuitive relationship between resource acquisition and national defense, where control over natural resources is increasingly viewed as integral to maintaining military and technological superiority. However, this approach risks framing international relations as a zero-sum game where one nation's gain is another's loss, thereby escalating tensions. 3. Perception of global influence. Trump's approach can be seen as part of a larger narrative of American exceptionalism, where the U.S. seeks to maintain its influence globally through acquisition and control of key territories. This perspective is counterintuitive in the context of a world increasingly focused on cooperation and multilateralism, as it suggests a return to imperialistic attitudes in international politics. The push for control over Greenland aligns with a more aggressive stance in foreign policy, contradicting his earlier isolationist rhetoric. 4. The role of historical context. Trump's comments about Greenland cannot be divorced from historical context, particularly the legacy of colonialism and territorial expansion. The idea that a powerful nation could simply claim ownership over a territory inhabited by a distinct population reflects a colonial mindset that many modern nations have moved away from. This raises ethical questions about sovereignty and self-determination, particularly in light of Greenland's unique cultural identity and governance. 5. Geopolitical implications. The Arctic region where Greenland is located has become a focal point for global powers due to climate change and the opening of new shipping routes. Trump's desire for control over Greenland can be seen as part of a broader competition for influence in the Arctic, especially in relation to Russia, which has been aggressively asserting its presence in the area. This geopolitical tension contradicts the notion of cooperative governance in international waters and shared resources, suggesting that countries may prioritize territorial claims over collaborative environmental stewardship. 6. Domestic political strategy. Trump's repeated emphasis on Greenland may also serve a domestic political purpose, catering to his base's nationalist sentiments. By framing international relations in terms of ownership and control, he taps into a narrative that resonates with voters who prioritize American sovereignty and assertiveness on the global stage. This political maneuvering, however, may overlook the complexities of modern geopolitics, where alliances and partnerships are often more beneficial than unilateral claims. 7. Responses from Greenland and Denmark. The strong reactions from Greenland's Prime Minister and the Danish government highlight the disconnect between Trump's rhetoric and the realities of contemporary governance. Their firm stance against the sale of Greenland emphasizes the importance of respecting the rights and decisions of local populations, which contradicts Trump's perceived entitlement to claim ownership. This situation illustrates a broader trend where powerful nations may underestimate the agency of smaller territories and their inhabitants. 8. Economic considerations. Trump's focus on Greenland's resources ties into a larger economic narrative about the competition for control over valuable materials. However, this perspective overlooks the need for sustainable practices and the potential consequences of resource exploitation for local communities and the environment. The framing of Greenland as a mere asset to be acquired fails to consider the long-term impacts of such actions on both the region and global ecological health. In summary, Trump's interest in Greenland encapsulates a range of counterintuitive themes that challenge assumptions about sovereignty, the nature of international relations, and the ethical implications of territorial claims. His approach reveals a complex interplay between national security, resource acquisition, and geopolitical strategy, highlighting a tension between modern ideals of cooperation and historical patterns of domination. Donald Trump's interest in Greenland is not merely about the acquisition of land, it is deeply intertwined with his vision of American national security, resource acquisition, and geopolitical strategy. While many observers focus on the sensationalism of the idea of purchasing Greenland, several critical points are often overlooked that underscore the significance of this interest. Strategic importance of Greenland. 1. Geopolitical positioning. Greenland's location makes it a critical asset in the context of Arctic geopolitics. The Arctic is becoming increasingly important due to climate change, which is making previously inaccessible areas navigable and rich in resources. Control of Greenland would provide the U.S. with a strategic foothold in the Arctic, enhancing its ability to monitor Russian and Chinese activities in the region. The U.S. maintains a military base in Greenland, Thule Air Base, which is crucial for operations in the Arctic and for early warning systems against missile threats. 2. Resource richness. Greenland is abundant in natural resources, including rare earth minerals, which are essential for modern technology and renewable energy systems. As global demand for these materials grows, access to Greenland's resources could significantly bolster U.S. economic interests and independence from foreign supply chains, particularly from China, which dominates the rare earth market. National security rationale. Trump's framing of the need to own and control Greenland as an absolute necessity for national security is significant. It reflects a broader shift in U.S. foreign policy towards a more assertive posture in securing resources and strategic locations. His statement resonates with the concept of resource nationalism, where nations prioritize securing resources within their control, especially in a competitive global landscape. 1. Countering rival powers. Trump's comments can be viewed within the context of the U.S. strategy to counteract the influence of China and Russia in the Arctic. Both nations are expanding their military and economic reach in the region, and Greenland could serve as a counterbalance to their growing power. The emphasis on national security also plays into the narrative of protecting U.S. interests against perceived threats from rival nations. 2. Historical context of control. Trump's references to historical territories such as the Panama Canal highlight a nostalgic view of American hegemony. The Panama Canal was a strategic military and trade route under U.S. control until 1977. And Trump's desire to take back such control reflects a longing for a bygone era of American dominance. This aspect of his rhetoric might resonate with certain voter bases that feel a loss of national pride or security. Domestic and international political reactions. The reactions from both Greenland and Denmark underscore significant political dynamics that are often overlooked. The vehement rejection of Trump's proposals by Greenland's leadership is a crucial aspect of the narrative that speaks to self-determination and colonial legacies. 1. Sovereignty and self-determination. Greenland's Prime Minister Múte Egede's insistence that we are not for sale is a powerful assertion of sovereignty. This reflects a broader global trend where indigenous and local populations resist external pressures for control or ownership. It signifies a refusal to be treated as a pawn in great power politics, emphasizing the importance of local governance and decision-making. 2. Danish response. Denmark's immediate increase in defense spending in Greenland after Trump's comments illustrates a reactive approach to U.S. foreign policy. This highlights the fragile balance of power and the necessity for smaller nations to navigate their relationships with larger powers carefully. It also signals Denmark's commitment to defend its territory and maintain its sovereignty, countering any narrative that suggests that Greenland could be up for negotiation. Broader implications for U.S. foreign policy. Trump's focus on Greenland and similar territories reflects a broader inclination towards aggressive nationalism in U.S. foreign policy. This shift is significant for several reasons. 1. America First doctrine. This doctrine emphasizes prioritizing American interests, often at the expense of traditional alliances and partnerships. Trump's rhetoric around Greenland suggests a potential pivot towards unilateral actions that could strain relationships with allies, particularly in Europe. The phrase America First can serve to justify a range of policies that might disregard international norms and collaborative approaches to global issues. 2. International relations and global stability. The implications of asserting control over territories like Greenland can lead to increased tensions in international relations. Such moves can be perceived as neo-imperialistic, fostering resentment among nations that view these actions as violations of sovereignty. This could lead to a more polarized international environment where smaller nations feel threatened by larger powers asserting dominance over strategic regions. Conclusion. In summary, Trump's interest in Greenland encapsulates a complex interplay of national security, resource acquisition, and geopolitical strategy. While many may dismiss his comments as mere bluster, the underlying motivations reveal a significant shift in how the U.S. views its role in the world. The broader implications for self-determination, international relations, and the future of U.S. foreign policy are profound and warrant careful consideration beyond the sensational headlines. As global dynamics continue to evolve, the conversations surrounding Greenland will likely reflect larger trends in power, resource management, and national identity. 1. Strategic importance of Greenland. Trump's interest in Greenland is closely tied to its strategic location and rich natural resources. With the Arctic becoming increasingly significant due to climate change and geopolitical tensions, controlling Greenland could enhance U.S. military and trade capabilities in the region. The presence of the Patuxent space base and the potential for accessing rare earth minerals underline this point. Trump's rhetoric emphasizes that owning Greenland is vital for national security and global freedom, reflecting a broader trend where nations are vying for dominance in the Arctic. 2. Geopolitical reactions. The responses from Greenland and Denmark highlight the sovereignty concerns that arise from Trump's assertions. Prime Minister Múte's firm stance that Greenland is not for sale underscores a growing assertion of self-determination among its inhabitants. Additionally, Denmark's decision to increase defense spending in Greenland can be seen as a countermeasure to U.S. claims, indicating that Trump's statements have significant implications for international relations and regional security dynamics, particularly with Russia's increasing interest in the Arctic. 3. Trump's America First policy. Trump's renewed interest in Greenland reflects his America First approach to foreign policy, which often involves aggressive posturing and the assertion of U.S. dominance on the global stage. His comments regarding the Panama Canal, along with Greenland, suggest a broader strategy of reclaiming control over strategic assets previously relinquished by the U.S. This perspective not only influences U.S. foreign relations but also resonates with a segment of the American populace that values a strong, assertive national presence in global affairs. For international diplomatic implications, Trump's remarks have sparked a complex interplay of diplomatic responses, including the EU's cautious silence and Greenland's rejection of the notion of sale. The lack of a robust EU response indicates a hesitance to confront the U.S. directly, while also revealing underlying tensions within transatlantic relations. This situation illustrates how national interests can clash with historical ties and international norms, potentially leading to a re-evaluation of alliances and strategies in light of Trump's aggressive assertions. 1. The purchase of Alaska, 1867. This historical case involved the United States purchasing Alaska from Russia for $7.2 million. Secretary of State William H. Seward was a major proponent of the deal, which was initially criticized and referred to as Seward's folly. The acquisition was later seen as a strategic move, providing the U.S. with vast natural resources and a critical position in the Arctic, similar to the interest Trump showed in Greenland for its strategic and resource-rich potential. 2. The Louisiana Purchase, 1803. The Louisiana Purchase was a landmark acquisition in which the United States bought approximately 827,000 square miles of land from France for $15 million. This deal significantly expanded U.S. territory and influence. President Thomas Jefferson viewed the acquisition as vital for agricultural expansion and national security, paralleling Trump's rationale for wanting to control Greenland due to its strategic location and resources. 3. The annexation of Hawaii 1898. The annexation of Hawaii involved the U.S. overthrowing the Hawaiian monarchy and subsequently annexing the islands. This move was justified by the U.S. government on the grounds of national security, economic interests, and the strategic location of Hawaii in the Pacific. Similar to Trump's interest in Greenland, the annexation reflected a desire to expand U.S. territory for geopolitical advantages despite significant local opposition and the implications for the sovereignty of the indigenous population. Donald Trump's renewed interest in Greenland has sparked a significant discussion around the geopolitical implications of such a desire, especially as it pertains to national security, resource acquisition, and global influence. This interest first surfaced in 2019 and has resurfaced as Trump positions himself for another presidential term. The following analysis outlines the potential future outlook regarding Trump's interest in Greenland, its implications, and the broader geopolitical landscape. Geopolitical implications. 1. Strategic resource access. Greenland is rich in natural resources, including rare earth elements crucial for technology and defense industries. As global demand for these resources rises, control over Greenland could provide the U.S. with significant economic and strategic advantages. Future U.S. administrations may prioritize securing access to these resources through diplomatic means rather than outright acquisition, recognizing the importance of Greenland in the context of a resource-scarce world. 2. Arctic geopolitics. The Arctic region is becoming increasingly important due to climate change, which is opening new shipping routes and access to untapped resources. Russia has been expanding its military presence in the Arctic, viewing it as an area of strategic importance. If the U.S. pursues a more aggressive stance in Greenland, it could escalate tensions with Russia and other Arctic nations. Future U.S. policy may involve strengthening alliances with Nordic countries and Canada to counterbalance Russian influence in the region. 3. U.S.-Danish relations. The relationship between the U.S. and Denmark will likely be tested. Denmark has firmly stated that Greenland is not for sale, and any attempts by the U.S. to assert control could strain diplomatic relations. Future diplomatic efforts may focus on collaborative approaches to Arctic governance, emphasizing joint initiatives on climate change, security, and resource management rather than territorial disputes. Domestic political landscape. 1. Nationalism and populism. Trump's rhetoric surrounding Greenland taps into nationalist sentiments that resonate with a segment of the American populace. As he campaigns for a second term, he may leverage this narrative to galvanize support among voters who prioritize national security and economic independence. This trend could lead to a broader movement focusing on U.S. territorial integrity and resource sovereignty, influencing future political discourse. 2. Opposition and social movements. The prospect of American control over Greenland is likely to provoke significant opposition both domestically and internationally. Greenlanders have expressed their desire for self-determination, and any U.S. overtures could spur social movements advocating for indigenous rights and autonomy. Future political landscapes may feature more robust discussions around the implications of colonialism and the rights of local populations in international negotiations. Economic considerations. 1. Investment in Greenland, rather than seeking ownership. Future U.S. administrations may focus on strategic investments in Greenland's infrastructure and resource development. This could involve partnerships with Danish authorities and Greenlandic leaders to create a framework for sustainable development that benefits local communities while also providing the U.S. with access to critical resources. 2. Impact on global trade. Trump's statements regarding Greenland can be viewed within the context of a broader trend of reshaping global trade dynamics. As the U.S. seeks to reassert its economic interests, it may engage in more aggressive trade negotiations and partnerships, particularly with nations in the Arctic region. Future trade policies may prioritize securing supply chains for critical materials and technologies. Impacting global markets. Environmental concerns. 1. Climate change strategy. Greenland's melting glaciers and changing ecosystems pose significant environmental challenges. Future U.S. policies may increasingly emphasize climate change adaptation and mitigation strategies in the Arctic. This could involve collaborative efforts with Greenland and other Arctic nations to address environmental degradation while balancing resource exploitation with conservation efforts. 2. Sustainable development. The dialogue surrounding Greenland's future will likely include discussions on sustainable development practices. As nations grapple with climate change, the emphasis on eco-friendly resource extraction and environmental stewardship could reshape how countries approach Arctic development, including U.S. interests in Greenland. Conclusion. The future outlook regarding Donald Trump's interest in Greenland encompasses a complex interplay of geopolitical, economic, and environmental factors. As global dynamics evolve, the U.S. may find itself navigating a delicate balance between asserting its interests and respecting the sovereignty and rights of Greenland's inhabitants. In this context, the discourse surrounding Greenland will likely reflect broader themes of nationalism, resource competition, and climate change, shaping the geopolitical landscape of the Arctic for years to come.